Hello everybody, my name is Taylor Myers and I'm here with MF Fire, and today I'm going to teach you how to build a top-down fire in our Nova wood stove. So Nova is our wood stove right here. It's an incredibly simple and easy to use wood stove. There's no complicated air controls. Every time you build a fire, it's going to give you a big beautiful fire and lots of efficient heat output. But there's still some technique to how to build a fire properly, and I wanted to walk you all through that. So the fires that we like to build are called top-down fires. A top-down fire is when the fire is lit with small material at the top and it slowly burns down through layers of larger and larger material until it catches the logs at the bottom. We found that this is the most foolproof way to start a fire. It almost always gives you a quick, clean burning fire when you're starting on a cold start, or a start where there's no coals in your wood stove. So I'm going to go ahead and get started and show you how to do that. So this is Nova. Nova only has one control that you really need to worry about, and that is the catalyst bypass. We have a catalytic combustor that helps make things clean inside the wood stove. And before you start the stove for the first time, you're going to want to bypass it. The bypass handle is here on the side of the stove. It's in the back position when the bypass is closed and the catalyst is engaged. And we're going to swing it forward. Now I want you to get in the habit of swinging your bypass open every time before you go to open the door. So I swung this bypass open. I'm going to open the door up, and we're going to start building a top-down fire. Now, before you build a top-down fire, something important to do is you always want to warm up the flue. So the bypass for Nova opens a vent directly to the flue right in the back of the stove. And I'm going to take a stick lighter and some paper, and I'm just going to light a fire to warm up the flue. So the chimney of a wood stove is the engine of the stove. It draws the air and the smoke through the stove, and you need to make sure that the chimney is hot. This is a fairly warm October day, and so the chimney may not be warmer than the outside air yet, and so it won't draw the heat quite as well. So I'm just heating up the chimney first before we go and build a fire. And you should be able to hear the chimney drafting when you do this. And we're going to go ahead and build our fire now. So with the top-down fire, we have a couple of different sizes of wood. So we have our base layer of wood, which are just simple cord wood. This is 18 inches long because Nova can accommodate logs up to 18 inches. I'm going to put that on our bottom layer. And then I'm going to start crisscrossing with smaller pieces of wood. So we have some smaller wood that you can fit your hand around, a little bit smaller in diameter than our cord wood. We're going to crisscross that on top of the large wood in a couple of layers. And then even smaller pieces, very small pieces, about half the size, nice thin pieces. You want a lot of thin kindling. So you're going to notice that we're going to load this wood stove all the way full. It's a mistake with a wood stove to try and nurse the fire the way that you would with maybe a campfire, where you start small and try and build up. Instead, we want a full fire right away. And getting that full fire engaged is really important to getting the wood stove to work. The pollution control elements like the catalytic combustor only work when they're up at temperature. So I'm going to load this full of kindling, nice and small pieces of kindling. The smaller the better, at the top of our ladder. And then I am also going to put in some pieces of cardboard, some ripped up pieces of cardboard. Now cardboard is not good fuel for a wood stove. You don't want to burn cardboard in your wood stove, but it is helpful to get the fire started. So we're going to use just a little bit, and we're going to intermix it between the layers here to try and make sure that this fire gets good and going when we first start it. Our goal with this top-down fire is to minimize our need to play with the fire after it gets going, to try and get it really established the first time so that we can minimize the smoke and maximize the efficiency of our fire. And getting a good fire engaged with lots of kindling is really the key there. So I'm adding in some fire, and then the last thing some cardboard before I put the fire, and then the last thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add some newsprint. Now, we don't have newsprint. I'm sitting here in our office. We do have packing paper, and it's made of the same material. And I like to make little knots. So I take a strip of newsprint, crumble it up, tie it into a knot, pull it tight, and then we're just going to put those knots on top of our fire, on top of our wood load, and then intermix down through the layers. And when we go to light the stove, we are going to light it in a couple of places. All right, so I have the newsprint, the cardboard, the small kindling, the large kindling, and the fuel loads. I have my stick lighter. The bypass is open so that the smoke can go around the catalyst and straight up the flue. My door is open. I'm going to light the fire, and then I am going to shut the door most of the way. I'm going to leave the bypass open. I'm going to leave the bypass open until the fire is well engaged. And we have on top of Nova a nice thermometer. This thermometer measures the temperature of the catalyst inside the stove and tells you when to engage. Right now, it's reading open, which means that the bypass should be open. And once the fire is well established, the thermometer, the temperature gauge, will swing up to engage. And that's the point where you want to shut your door and close the catalytic bypass. So I'm going to go ahead and light this fire. Light it in a couple of places before I mostly shut the door. Not totally, but mostly. We're going to leave it open just a crack, about an inch or two. Trying to light the fire evenly across a couple of places in the wood stove. Leaving the door cracked. And you can see that the fire is spreading. It's moving from the paper to the cardboard. And as it gets going, it'll catch the other kindling and it will gradually spread to the larger and larger pieces. So that's how you build a top-down fire in a wood stove. Couldn't be easier. Sometimes the fire doesn't catch the first time. Don't be afraid to add some more kindling and try again. And you'll have a nice, beautiful fire. Thank you.